Okay, I got two good ones. So let's hit new T100.
Okay.
New T100s out of the box show up 1 degree stronger than prior generation.
So 33.
Correct.
Okay.
But with new SureFit hosel, we have the ability to weaken golf clubs by 2 degrees. So we have a 1-to-1 ratio. I can go 1 flat, 1 up, 1 weak, 2 weak, 1 strong.
Oh, with this whole thing, huh?
Yes. So that is your
that's
spec.
clever.
I bent it 1 degree weak for you.
Okay.
So that's the exact setup that you have.
Okay.
And in our testing process, I want to test all the models as close to your loft
As
and lie
possible.
setup that we can.
Okay, gotcha.
So we can really see the differences.
Need to say this out loud. I've always been a huge fan of Titleist irons. The whole platform, from the days back to the 962Bs to the AP2s, always been an admirer, played a lot of their irons. What you're about to see here is a look inside to what an actual fitting at TPI looks like. I typically don't like to be swinging at my best. I want to find out if an iron can help me on my worst, because at this point in my life, most of the time I'm not hitting it awesome. I don't have a lot of time to practice. I'm 48 years old. I have 2 kids. Probably a lot of you can relate. So I want to find out if these things are going to do the trick when I am not awesome. And what Lucas Bro, who's a genius fitter, by the way, and I don't say that lightly, I've worked and am friends with a ton of the top fitters in the world. He's masterclass, and what he was able to do was to build in efficiency and some trust on a day that I didn't have, and he was able to build an iron platform in my bag that works when I am not awesome. That's hard to do. So these are the heroes of the story. So you have T100 and T150. Now there was a utility iron that's amazing that I don't have in front of me, but you have the U250. I did hit the T250 and T350 and the Star irons. Fantastic, but the point of this video is to talk about these two champions here. What Titleist does really, really well, and this is where they kind of dominate, is they really excel in the nuance. So if I am looking at the new T100, a lot of it, for the most part, that's an old familiar feel, but you're going to notice a little bit of sole change here. There's a little bit more relief. The sole got a little bit cleaner, gets to the turf a little bit faster, but ultimately, if you look at this versus the T100 from a couple years ago, you're not going to see a huge difference, but there is one. I'm going to get to that in a second. T150 changed a little bit more. I was a huge fan of the T150. When I saw it, I thought it was a brilliant idea to have like a tweener iron between like your players, I don't know, players performance, players distance, and your tour iron. This is kind of a combination of both. They did make some changes to the sole, so it's not as wide as before. There's a little back edge relief. It just gets to the turf a little bit better. But one thing that I noticed that was completely fascinating, and you got to remember, like Titleist bases everything off of their fitting system, which is the 3Ds. 3Ds is distance, dispersion, and descent angle. They fit for dispersion, not east to west, because they can fix that pretty quickly, but they want to ensure that you're hitting the same peak height with every club. They want to make sure that the spin is there for control, and they want to make sure that your north-south dispersion is tight, typically getting pin high as much as possible, because that's how you shoot lower scores. This is all built around precision, getting to the pin as quickly as possible and shooting a low score. And that's why the Titleist thing for me at this point in my life is extremely attractive. So fly on the wall, look into my fitting. Hope you guys find it interesting, but they knocked it out of the park. These are going to be the irons I'm going to be playing for the rest of the year. They're in the bag along with the Pro V1X golf ball. So hope you guys enjoy that. I hope you guys learn a lot, because I learned a lot. So thanks to Lucas Bro and the Titleist crew for having me over to TPI. This is T-Series. If you guys want to know the down and dirty, you're going to see it right now. Let's get into it.
Wow.
This is one of those golf clubs that if it's not broke, don't change it, right? And so you want to make subtle refinements to it.
Yeah, and which is, yeah, I mean, you already had a good iron to begin with, so. Little pulley, but that was a good strike.
Give me one more. Good strike.
That was good.
So there's a couple things that jump out at us.
Okay.
Obviously those last couple you covered a little bit and it's moving to the left.
Right.
But there's a big increase in ball speed.
Yeah.
It's not inherently a good thing in a 7-iron, because you're trying to map out your bag so that all your ball speeds are different.
When you guys do 5 miles an hour between each club, right? Is
Yes,
that kind of the idea?
that's the old gold standard. And the reason behind that is you're looking to match the peak heights of all your golf balls.
Okay.
So for example, if you hit your 7-iron 96 feet, the physics that will make a 4-iron good for you as a golfer is to make your 4-iron go 96 feet.
You can either do that with center of gravity or loft.
Correct. And the back engineering, the physics and the mechanism behind it is you need the ball, launch, and spin to all match up to create it. So when it goes 96 feet, you'll notice that the ball speed separates. If we just focus on peak height, it's a result number, right? It's the combination of those 3 metrics.
Okay.
And so each player's geometry, the way you swing, you create a peak height.
Right.
If I made it go 130, you'd be like, ooh, that's weird, I don't like that. If I made it go 60, you'd go, I don't really like that one either. So we try to find what's that middle ground for you, what looks good for you.
Okay.
If your 7 is 96 and you hit a 4-iron and it goes 50, I know that one of these is wrong.
Okay.
It's usually the ball speed,
Right.
and it's usually the spin. Launch is harder to change because that's usually player technique. So if you have one, your 4-iron goes lower than your 7, I just make it go higher.
Right.
And if I make it go higher, I either have to do it with the punch, the ball speed, or I have to do it with the loft, or a combination of the 2.
Okay.
So you as a golfer resonate better with golf clubs that have more loft.
Because I can adjust, and I control my dynamic, and I learned that from you. Full credit for that. Last time I was here, is when I see loft, instinctively I want to go this way, especially if I'm playing a lot of golf. Like and it's really worked out well.
So one of the things that's come up from this is if I make your 7-iron too hot, too low spin, too flat in flight, all I do is make my job really hard when I get to the 4-iron.
Right.
So everything that I'm doing in the 7-iron, I'm thinking ahead a couple steps.
Okay.
I'm going, okay, Johnny's not going to like that maybe he hits his 7-iron 5 yards shorter, but I'm going to butter him up to show him why it's going to help him in the 4-iron.
Right.
And that's why I have this dispersion plot on the left, because I like to work up through the bag. Gotcha. So we'd have our driver at the top, we'd have our 7-iron, which is kind of our North Star, and we would stair step everything so there's a nice clean gap between every club.
Okay.
If the peak heights are the same, you're less likely to adjust your golf swing to try to lift it.
Which is what which you said to me last time, because I've always played with stronger lofts, and because I've learned, I always felt like I picked the ball, and the only way to combat that was to take the loft down to get the loft, which makes sense, like in practical sense.
But the fear always is when you weaken the loft, people perceive that you're going to lose distance. It's like, well, sure, in a 7-iron maybe you do because you're actually pushing the 7-iron into the 6-iron category. Right. But it's a bell curve, and so if you steepen it at the 7-iron, you make your wedge game kind of not great because you've got these big loft gaps.
And then you have some gaps down the 4, 5, 6.
Exactly.
Really weird. Okay.
With a really good player, I almost want to start at the 5 or the 4-iron. I want to go, okay, what does your 4-iron need to look like, and how do I backfill everything down through the set?
Gotcha.
That's another way to approach it.
Right, but you're accomplishing the same thing.
We have more adjustability in the 7-iron. That's why we like to start there. So fun fact for the day. It's kind of weird how this always works, but players typically swing their driver exactly 20 miles an hour faster than their 7-iron.
Really?
Yes, so I have 20 miles an hour of club head speed to fill, which means I have typically about 30 miles an hour of ball speed to fill between your 7 and your driver.
Which is where the hybrids and the 5 woods and the...
So if you push your 7-iron with too much speed, let me wash that off. If you push your 7-iron too far, you just bottleneck up top.
Right.
Really good. All right, let's hit the 150.
Okay.
Very nice. There's pros and cons in everything we do, right?
Right.
If I make your 7 go further, I create a different problem. If I make it go shorter, I create a different problem.
Yeah, so like what I've noticed with these, because I'm always thinking about 5, 6, 7. Those are like the 3 irons that, like I want to be able to not lose strokes with, essentially, or 4, 5, 6, 7. But what I'm always trying to stay conscious of with a 7-iron is I still want to treat it as a scoring iron. What I've been doing is because I'm trying to get the ball speed out of it and I'm trying to get more out of it, is the fact that I still need this as a scoring club gets lost somewhere, and I'm just not focusing on the right things. And I can do it with my like 8 through wedge. I'm always paying attention to that. Like, you know, is it getting through the turf? Is it doing what I need to do? Can I hit the shots? And the 7-iron's always that kind of the bastard child. Like,
I would say that's a normal feeling. That's a normal experience.
Okay.
I think on tour you probably hear that at the 6-iron.
Yeah.
The 6-iron's the last scoring club, and the 5-iron starts to be that one that's
just make a par. Just don't make a bogey with it.
get it in the middle of the green.
Yeah. So this is 150.
This is 150 at 34 degrees of loft.
Okay.
And the reason we want to test it at 34 degrees of loft for you, not for everyone, but for you, is because when I start strengthening the loft for you, you start making bad swings.
Right.
So I have to keep you out of that today.
Tell you what, these things get up in the air fast, don't they? I can't, if I'm being super honest, like if I set this down and set that down, like I don't notice much difference.
Good.
Like at address and through the turf, like, because I remember last time I hit 150, I liked it, but it wasn't getting through the turf. Like I wasn't getting it on a good part of the face. This one I feel like I am. Like that's a good shot for me to look at because that's my miss. Usually, like 9 times out of 10 is like center, bottom groover.
Okay, let me take that one from you.
That's really good. So this is 250?
This is 250. Again, more similar to the loft that you walked in. So this is 250 at 2 degrees weak.
Okay.
Just to keep you away from getting to that flipping motion.
A little drop kicky, but
you can see how much more that club wants to launch in the air.
I don't know what you guys did versus the last thing, but so far, because there was a distinct difference between T100 and then when I got to 150, 200, getting through the turf.
Yeah.
Like, and it's not like I'm taking big beaver pelts or anything, but like, I can feel it. I can tell like where on the face I'm catching it. So I feel like I'm catching like maybe a groove or a groove and a half up the face versus what I was doing with the other ones.
So for fun, let me take that club back. I'm going to put it at its standard loft.
Okay.
Sometimes when you're taking a 250 or a kind of hollow body construction, there's a lot of weight low in the face.
Yeah.
And so bending it weak sometimes goes against the reason for how we constructed it.
Right, because it's designed at that.
Exactly.
The loft, right.
So you're always trying to play the game of like, is it you or is it how the club swings you?
Gotcha. So like I feel, like I can already tell you, like if we're going 7-iron for 7-iron, I'm going to hit, I will probably get more out of the T100 across the board than I would one of the ones maybe with a little bit lower CG.
Potentially. I think because you're a more covering player, you're always going to seek a golf club that's more like an MB, a CB, a T100.
Right.
So strike is going to improve.
That was hammered. There's 100 yards left, but it hit that good.
So your ball speed jumped up from 115 miles an hour. That was 121.
I was going to say that's like.
Yeah. But the negative to that is your peak height drops, and you're only 5,700 RPMs a spin.
Yeah, that's not. See, I need to be. I can already tell you, like I don't know how to play golf that way.
So what a lot of people get into is, yes, that does make your 7-iron go further.
Right.
But remember, I'm going to lose 1,000 RPMs a spin roughly for every 4 degrees aloft. If you're at 5,700 already in your 7, you're going to be at 47 in your 6. You're going to be at 37
then I'm
in
in
your
5-wood territory by the time I get to my 4-iron.
If you even have enough spin left to go with.
So like I look at 7-iron for me, especially at 34 degrees, like in like unicorn scenario, if I hit a great shot, I should be between 116 and 118 somewhere in mid 6,000 spins.
I would agree.
Like that's where I live.
And even if you could be 7,000 in your 7-iron is a good thing, because I look at spin less about the club sometimes. I look at it as how far the ball needs to go.
Right.
If you and I are going to, let's say we have different club head speeds and different club distances, if we're going to hit a shot at 156 yards, maybe I can hit my 8-iron there. And so I'm going to have 8,000 RPMs of spin, which means my height's going to be maybe 105, 110. I have a competitive advantage against you. So you lowering your spin to make your 7 goes further doesn't give you a competitive advantage. No, you have to match the tour player or the higher speed player's physics.
Right.
And so you being able to create spin. The negative is it's the distance. And unfortunately, that's what we get too focused on. When the reality is, how do we shoot really low scores? You're able to control your golf ball when it hits the green.
Right.
So I always say that fitting is not an event, it's a process.
It's a process, yeah.
So we threw everything in the kitchen sink at you last time.
Right.
Now we get to dial in just the tiny little things that add on top of that each time. And I think for a lot of people, they come out here, it's a bucket list. We got to get a lot done. But even when they come out here, it's not 100%. I'd like it to be.
Right.
Sometimes it's 98, sometimes it's 99.
Yeah, I think if
sometimes it's 85.
I think if you walk out of a fitting and everything's perfect, you got lucky.
I would agree.
Yeah, you got lucky. Because that means that you can be the same person on June 19th as you are on August 15th. Like, but I really like that left side, don't I?
A little bit. You're swinging over there. Your feet are starting to creep just a little left.
Are they?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's better.
Right there?
Yeah.
Is that more in the ballpark?
Really good. Okay, I'll take it back. I don't have a good enough reason to tell you to change too far away in your 7-iron specs from what we did last time. I feel comfortable where you were.
This is mine.
Yes.
I really like
good.
I'm totally comfortable with, because I know the baseline's good enough, and I know as I play more and start to hit it better, everything will get better. And I don't see, after hitting everything that I've hit so far, I still think I hit this one better. I mean, I still think I hit the T100 better.
I would agree.
Yeah.
We were texting, and I got a 100 and a 156 iron.
Okay.
So let's hit them both, and let's see which one offers the best
result.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like to change one at the end.
Okay.
And the only reason I say that is because I think more people can play 6 and 5 irons in these more modern clubs because of the engineering that's happened.
Right.
Now, the 4-iron, where it breaks, we definitely have to change chassis size and start stacking.
Well, that makes sense at that, because that's almost a niche club too. Those aren't scoring clubs. At that point, you just got to get as much out of it as you can.
I also believe that once you change the chassis size, the game has begun.
Right.
So if you change to a 150, then the next one can't be the same.
Right.
Because for the same reason you had to change from a 100 to a 150, you're going to have to change from a 150 to a 250.
Got it.
And so I don't see it work all the time, but let's try.
Let's try. Another bottom groover.
So we have to find the point in the set where we need help from the technology.
Got it.
That's what we're trying to determine right now. Is it the 6? Is it the 5? Is it never? I always love our stat from Tour where 80% of Tour players play a mixed bag of irons.
Yep.
20% of consumers play a mixed bag of irons.
What a wild
100% of golfers play a mixed bag of clubs. You play a driver, it's a metal.
Right.
And an iron, that's a mixed bag.
Right. But iron sets, so you said 20%?
Yes.
That's a wild number. Tell you what, I like the way this looks. Is this the 150?
That is the 150, yes. Okay, let me show you the comparison between those two 6-irons. What's the first thing you notice right out of the gate?
This one gets to its peak height,
you hit the center of the face easier.
And with this one?
Yes.
For 100%.
People always come in and say, well, I put a better swing on it. I'm like, that's the point. You could put a better swing on whatever about that golf club is allowing you to do so.
Yeah.
We don't have to get too crazy with the definition. And so how we define a better iron versus another is, remember, your ball speed of your 7-iron, I'm going to take your last couple, which were a little bit more solid. you were 116.5.
Okay.
So I need at least 121.5. The 6-iron T100 was only 118.
Right.
But let's reverse it. Let's just look more simply at
Peak
the
height.
It's 87.
Right.
So what can I assume? It's low speed, low launch, and low spin.
Right.
What do you know? But really, it was just low speed, low launch, normal spin.
Right.
If I compare them now, and I took that 6-iron, I weakened it, so they're both the same lofts. So whenever you're figuring out in the 7-iron, you go, okay, I want it at 34 degrees. I continue that loft progression, even when I change chassis size.
Okay.
If I needed to strengthen the loft, that would be step number 2. If I needed to introduce a graphite shaft, it would be step number 3.
Which would be making it lighter, theoretically.
Correct.
Maybe a little longer.
So
yeah.
I don't need to go to a graphite because it's still an iron.
Right.
And I want to keep the same loft because of all the things that you do with your golf swing.
Right.
So step number
Which
1
is
is,
a lot. I do a lot in my
well,
golf swing.
the difference between the 150 and the 100 is look at the ball speed difference.
Yeah. So like, I'm looking at these numbers, right? So like, if that's 6,000 spin, right? Which you and I would probably say that's on the razor's edge, if not enough. But
you were also turning the ball right to left on all those shots.
right. And I'm also getting to 103 feet.
Correct.
And I look at it now, like if I'm being super honest, is how I like 6-iron for me. Like I said before, like it's a abyss of darkness.
Yeah.
Like if I make par, if I hit a good shot with a 6-iron, I got lucky that day. But I'm looking at these numbers, and I know that I have wiggle room because if I hit it thin, I got ball speed, air to give away.
Yeah.
I got spin. I'll probably spin probably realistically is probably at 6,200 if I hit it straight, right?
Sure.
And then like these numbers I don't care about because golf course me and out here me is different. So like
Right.
if I'm taking all this crap out of here and I'm just looking at that
Yes.
and that and that, those
Yes.
three,
If
those are fun numbers.
if you can't get off the starting block, there's no point in continuing to test, right?
Right.
So if you're not separating your ball speed and you're having to manipulate your golf swing to do it, the tool's working against you and not for you.
Okay, so this question goes to Marnie. So the last 150s I hit, because we hit a bunch of 150s last time I was here,
We did.
and I didn't hit them as good as. So what's different, without getting too far into the hood? Like what?
Center of gravity is a little bit different, and then the face design is a little bit different in this one. So the variable face thickness, which we'll get into when we show the presentation, the muscle channel is slightly tweaked in this one too.
Because this was a different experience than last time I hit this thing.
And I think that's why it's important that it's great that we did it and we did all the big, bold stuff.
Right.
And now we get to refine and we get to fine tune because this is the club that gives you the most fits on the golf course. So now we can find, like you said, it's 4 shots around.
Right.
What if I got you 2 back? You
Oh
go
my
from
God.
2 doubles to 2 birdies.
Right.
That's a huge shot swing.
I take
right?
that. Yeah, you could sell that to me for 10 grand.
Well, sure, cash only. This is a great opportunity for us to
golf
try a different golf ball.
Okay.
So we touched on, we wanted to test the difference between Pro V1 and Pro V1X.
Yes.
When you're deciding golf balls, we always want to fit the irons first.
Okay.
We want to fit the ball to the irons, and we want to fit the driver to the golf ball. That is the philosophy on tour. The other side of the tour is players work from the green backwards.
Right.
If you're missing 6-foot putts because of the way the golf ball feels, it's not a good
Not
golf
a good
ball.
golf ball, yeah.
If it doesn't feel right greenside and not giving you what you're looking for in your distance control, we can do more things with the golf club to accommodate those couple hundred RPMs of spin
Right.
that maybe you're losing out in a driver.
Yeah, because you don't have any levers to change this
Correct.
one. You have a ton of levers to change
So
that one.
let's think about what we just said in the courtroom. We said that we're already teetering on a little bit of the low side of spin.
Right.
Well, a Pro V1 on paper is a slightly lower spinning, lower launching golf ball. It's not working in our favor, particularly in this golf club maybe,
Right.
but maybe it will. I don't want to say it all comes back to feel a lot of times, but if you're getting the club in a good place and you're choosing between Pro V1 and Pro V1X, it's hard to screw up that decision.
Right.
If you're coming from a competitor or maybe an AVX or maybe a left dash, those are more polarizing options. Yes, you're going to see some really, really big differences. But what we want from this ball is we want it to be as consistent as possible in every round of golf that you play.
And this would be the lower compression of the two.
It will,
Ish.
but that doesn't necessarily mean the cover and the dimple pattern and the mantle and the gradient are all the bells and whistles of the ball.
Okay.
So what you're looking for is, remember, you don't hit your driver the same swing speed as your wedges.
No.
So compression is all relative.
Sure.
Because you got to hit a 20-yard shot and you got to hit a 200-yard shot.
Right.
So it's all about maintaining that peak height throughout your set.
So in theory, this one should launch a little lower.
Potentially, yeah.
Okay.
The hard, sorry, right by your right foot. The hard part is you're a human, and you experience things, and you have tactile information. You're gonna adjust more things about you than I can adjust with the golf ball on the fly.
Right.
Let's get a couple more.
I would love to be able to turn again. Turn and burn. I tell you what, for a thin shot,
Not bad.
no. I mean, I probably lost a ton, but I'm just looking at ballooning and all the extra stuff that happens when you hit it thin.
Yeah. That's an X. Just to throw them off the scent. One more.
Look at that thing get up. Holy shnikes. Oh, Hosley. Are you noticing anything over there
Me?
with the ball? Is it?
Oh, yeah. Good.
Oh yeah.
Okay, let's look at those two things combined. So 3 or 4 shots ago when you said, wow, really look at that one get up there.
Yeah, this is sick, by the way.
That was actually an X ball.
Oh
Well, the
wow.
one that you just hit was a Pro V1. So when we're looking at the difference between these two, magenta is Pro V1X, green is Pro V1. Very similar ball speeds.
Right.
However, you do have a little bit more ball speed in the X.
Okay.
Why? Hard for me to say. You have 1 more degree of launch.
Okay.
You actually have 300 RPMs less spin. So what we can infer about that is the player is probably trying to adjust for what they saw the shot before. When you're picking between these two golf balls, you almost project sometimes what you want out of it. And what I don't like about the Pro V1 is you were less efficient with your strike, which is why you got that kind of low launch spinny shot.
Which is in a reaction to what I'm seeing in the air from the shot previous.
Yes.
Which, okay, so that's something that nobody talks about. And you're like, you mentioned this last time I was here, was because we see it on tour all the time. Like you see a player reacting to a ball,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And when you're playing like ball whack-a-mole and you're throwing different balls in
Yes.
there, that's a real thing. So like you might have a ball like Pro V1 theoretically supposed to spin less than Pro V1X, right?
Yes.
But if I'm coming off a ball that I see get up in the air fast, instinctively what I want to do
It's cover.
is start to do this,
Yes.
which is going to change strike point. It's going
Yes.
to change everything.
Yes. So what I've learned from this job is human beings are creatures of reacting to their environment, right?
Yeah.
That's what we're really, really
I
good
built
at.
a career on just reacting to shit.
Correct. And golf is a game of compensations and a game of reactions. And so what I've learned is I'm trying to give you tools that make a better compensation mechanism.
Which
And-
is again back to raising the floor. It's making
Correct.
making how you think, how you react, everything more. Efficiency is the key.
This
key
is
word
where
here.
this is where maybe I get over my skis sometimes, but I find it really interesting. Where, like, let's say we're in lie angle,
Right.
and we're saying, oh, upright lie angle goes left. It's like, well, sort of, or it goes left because the player's aimed left.
Right.
And I'll go, hey, stop doing that aim there, and I'll make it even more upright, and it'll go dead straight.
Right.
Don't settle for, I just tweak the club and it just does a thing.
Right.
There's more complexity to it.
Okay, so this is where we landed. This is what. So let's just get this. So we got 6 through pitching wedge in T100 Correct.
Well, I'd say it this way. 7 through pitching wedge and T100 are guaranteed good golf clubs.
Cooked. We're happy.
The first potential change is we're going to send you both a T100 and a T150 in the 6-iron.
Okay.
So you can test it on the golf course and figure out the pros and cons of both.
Right.
I think the conservative approach is the T100. I think the interesting one is T150.
Okay.
The negative is the 150 6-iron might creep a little too close to your 150 5-iron, which was very good.
Okay.
T250 5-iron wasn't so good. 4-iron becomes your U505.
Which was great.
And the positive there in this generation is you don't have to look at that bigger head style, so it's less intrusive. You're not really thinking that it's a U505. It just looks like a,
it looks like a
beefier 4-iron.
Okay.
So that's a huge benefit to this line for you. This is like buying a brand new car and now you got wireless CarPlay.
So versus
It's a creature comfort. It's good, right?